If you've ever typed "what is a brand" into the search query in Google and found a whole page full of results that are full of lots of jargon and make the concept of a brand seem incredibly unattainable, well, you're not alone. Which is a bit of a red flag for us small business owners who are trying to unravel this very complicated puzzle. Because if you don't actually understand what a brand is, it's pretty hard to build one of your own. And if you don't have a brand, then everything else in your business, your marketing, your sales, your messaging, your content, your visuals, your website even, are low-key just vibes. And so today, we're breaking it down, no jargon, no fluff, just what a brand is and why it matters for your small business. First up, strike it from the record, whatever you believed before about this, your brand is more than just the visual stuff. Websites, color palettes, photos, logos, all that stuff is important. We love our brand designers and the identities that create that help us to stand out visually in the feeds and tabs of our clients. Heck, I'm even a brand photographer. Visuals matter a lot to me, but a brand is more than just visual. I like to put it this way. A brand is identity and it's perception. Let's start with the first part. So if your business were a person, which technically is in the eyes of the law, it's an entity, your brand would be its identity, its personality. It gives your business someone to be. And the identity is the thing that stems from you as the founder. Your vision, your values, your strengths, and your story all form the foundation of the brand. Let's think about it this way. If you were going to step up to build a house, the first thing that the contractor would do after they've gotten all of the permits and they're ready to start building the structure itself, the first thing they would do is dig down. They must dig down in order to set the foundation that the house is going to be built on. That way your house will have a firm, flat, sure foundation to then be built on top of. The same is true of your business. You must dig in deep to realize and notice the vision that you have for your business, the values that you inherently hold as a business owner. What matters most to you and why does it matter? Your strengths. What are your natural knacks that equip you to do the work that you set out to do and only the way that you can do it? And what is your story? What led you into business? Why do you do the things that you do the way you do them? All of those things become the firm foundation that your business can now build on top of to form a house that you can welcome people into. And if we're running with this house analogy, once it's built in a very specific style. You have your vision for the rooms, you have your preferences, and your personality start to form the way that you want the house to flow. You might be the person that loves entertaining, and so your kitchen is huge with a massive island in the middle with big bar stools, and you have a dining room made for that beautiful dining table that you're just going to fill with all of your people. Or you might be a book-loving type and you've always dreamed of having a library in your house with a ladder that slides to and fro. Or you might be the type of person that absolutely adores being outside and you've always dreamed of having a garden, but then having space inside your house, like a little greenhouse of sorts, where you can keep those plants living no matter if it's summer or winter or spring or fall. We all have our own styles and preferences that influence the way that our brand is decorated. Those things are informed by your personality and your preference as the founder. But it would be really sad if we built this beautiful house and there was no one to fill it. And so the last part of that identity piece is considering who the people are that you're serving. You could call it your ideal client, you could call it your target audience. No matter what definition we put on it, it's all about the people that your vision, your values, your strengths, and your story equip you to uniquely serve to the best of your ability. We also have to consider what are their visions, what are their strengths, what are their values, and what is their story that intersects with yours, because therein lies the second half of our definition of a brand. We must also look at perception. There's this reality that there's this other person in the conversation. Your brand can't just be made up of all of your thoughts and perceptions of what it should be. It must also be filtered through your ideal audience, because they have thoughts, feelings, and an understanding that make up your brand, but in their mind. And we're creating for them. So that perception has to matter a lot to you. And we're all forming our own ideas of things all the time. It takes about 6 to 8 seconds to form concrete thoughts about a brand within the first 1 to 2 run-ins with it. So subconsciously or consciously, your ideal clients are all forming thoughts about your brand. And if you don't consider what those thoughts are, you're leaving connection by the wayside. I like to think of it this way. The best brands happen at the intersection of your perspective, your identity, what you stand for and what makes you different, and your audience's perception, what they need and how they experience you. If you only focus on yourself, your brand won't connect. And if you only focus on the audience, it'll feel like you're just imitating everyone else or playing to the masses and bringing in eyes that don't ever actually buy from you. And so to avoid this hamster wheel of either only pleasing yourself and building something that doesn't resonate, or only building something that appeases everybody but doesn't feel like it connects with you or actually feels profitable, then how do we get to the point where we have a brand that becomes the intersection of both of those things? I like to say a brand isn't something that we come up with or we create or we invent. It's actually noticed and then refined from there. Take it from somebody that knows. I've been in business for 8 years at this point, gone through 2 major pivots in my business. And when I stepped up to resolve the brand identity crisis I had that led to the first pivot, I quickly realized that this whole download a PDF from Google search to figure out my brand and answer a bunch of questions that are supposed to provide these huge revelations doesn't actually work. When you only download a questionnaire, and you have questions that are staring you in the face, like what makes you different from everybody else that does what you do? Why do you do what you do? What are the things that matter most to you? This requires you to know the core, the deepest parts of you and your story on a level that you can then articulate it, which sometimes, if you're anything like me, makes you have instant amnesia and have no information to then fill in those questions. This might not be a universal experience, but according to the conversations I've had with my own students and my own clients, it seems pretty true to our experience. And so that's why I say a brand isn't invented or created or figured out. It's noticed. It's mined from our own experiences and thinking back to why you started a business in the first place, the vision that you have, getting curious about what matters most to you and why that matters, what matters most to your clients and why that matters to them, about digging in and getting curious about what your strengths are. And all of that takes this art of noticing, this passion for staying curious and being willing to observe the parts of your life, the inner workings of your business, the way that you work, the way that you do in order to take notes, which is why that brought me to the conclusion that this whole process should start with the art of noticing rather than the art of creating or figuring things out. Because the beautiful thing is that there are words that could become the bedrock, the foundation of your brand, that could clue you in to the thing that sets you apart from your competitor. But what happens if you never slow down long enough to notice that word or that strength or to notice that value? You won't ever have that data to fill into your questionnaire. So again, to really pad that argument, the best brands are noticed and refined from there. And if you're ready to start the process of noticing all of these things about your brand, but you're not quite sure where to start, I have a brand mining pocket guide that I created that's full of 5 gold starred questions right from my students in one of my other programs that's literally all about this process itself. You can go ahead and download that for free. You'll find it in the description below, and it also includes a translation guide. So not only will you be noticing the things to fill in that questionnaire, but then also start to apply them so that you can complete this translation process and not just have all of this data about your brand, but to see why that matters in your business and how it changes to forge deeper connections with the people that you're wanting to work with. Which brings me to my final point. A brand is not just a thing that we're supposed to know. It can't just live in a questionnaire. It must then affect other parts of our business. To trace the ROI or the impact of a brand is actually in your marketing. Because if your brand is clear, marketing becomes almost second nature. It's simplified. You're never actually starting from scratch. A clear brand gives you a distinctive voice. So that means now you know how you should sound and even what words you should use to communicate who you are. It gives you a recognizable presence, which means that your audience knows what to expect, which is kind of the bedrock for trusting you. And trust leads to sales and loyalty. And then it technically gives you a built-in marketing strategy, which I have a whole nother video about this and what a clear brand actually does for your marketing and how it comes to play. And so if you want to go check that out, you'll find that in the description below. Just like your brand is the merging point of identity and perception, the best marketing strategy is the merging point of your strengths and your audience's preference. And you'll understand all of those things in fullness within the four walls of your brand. And so a clear brand gives you the gift of showing up in clarity and in confidence to build the right connections with the right people. That way, you get to do the work that you love all of the time and build a business that matters not just to you, but to people who also care about what you care about. For people whose lives that you're helping to change because of the brand that you're building. Things become easier when you have clarity. And around here, we like to say that clarity is kindness. Kindness to you and kindness to everybody that you're serving. That's the gist of it. Now it's time for you to get out there and start building your brand. If you need help, you'll find that brand mining pocket guide in the description below. If this video resonated with you and you would like to hear more content like this, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will catch you on the flip side.